Hello guys, let's continue with our series. In the lecture number 23, we will be learning about file handling. In this, we read and write files basically. So let's begin. Alright, so file handling enables Python programs to read and write to external files such as text or binary files. The open function is used to access files and requires a file name and mode. Let's see some file modes overview. The R read mode opens file for reading, which is the default function. The files must exist. Alright, you can only read a file if it exists. The W function on the write mode creates a new file or overwrites an existing one. Alright, the A or append mode, it adds content to the end of an existing file. Alright, the X or the exclusive creation creates a new file, fails if the file exists. Alright, so if a file is already existing and you try to create a new file, making it the old file but as a new file, it will not be created, right? It will simply fail because the file already exists. Then we have the B or the binary mode, which is used for non-text files like images or audio. Alright, because they carry the binary data, which is not really a text file. Alright, it is an image or an audio or something similar, you know. Then we have the plus or the update mode. It opens file for both reading and writing. I hope that was pretty clear to you. Now, in order to learn about reading from files, reading operations allow you to access entire content, individual lines or lists of lines. Data read from a file is returned as strings and may include new line characters. Common use cases include reading configuration, logs, user data, and documents. Then we have the writing to files. Writing operations send data to the file as plain text or binary. Write mode W overrides the existing file content. Append mode A adds new content at the end of the file without deleting existing data. Alright, next we have file handling's best practices. The best rules and regulations to follow while using the file handling property of the Python. So the rule says always close files properly to free up system resources, and this is a really important rule, guys. Whenever you are done with a file, done with the viewing, done with the reading, done with the writing, with the appending or any other operation, you have to make sure you close those files properly to free up the system resources. Alright, otherwise your system will be going into a deadlock and might even crash as well. So next we have the with statement is preferred for file operations as it handles automatic closing even on errors. Alright, so you can use the with statement to perform the file operations because it automatically handles the closing of the file to save the space, and this works even when you have errors, in reading, when you have errors in writing, when you have errors in appending, etc. Next, use proper exception handling to manage cases where files don't exist or are inaccessible. Alright, so you need to use proper exceptional handling practices in order to manage these exceptional cases where files don't exist or they are not accessible or something like that. Basically anything that creates an exception, you have to be ready for it and you have to manage the cases using the exception handling. Then you have to use the dot script function or similar string methods to clean up read data as needed. Alright, so if you have read data or like a block of string or anything like that and you do not need it anymore, you will just go ahead and strip it so that it is cleaned up and you have recovered your space just because you do not need it anymore, and it's not going to automatically clean itself. Then we have some key points to remember. Writing to files is destructive if not handled carefully, especially in W mode or the write mode. So basically, whenever you are writing, it will be replacing the entire string with, entire string or whatever the text data has. It might be a configuration, it might be a document related data, it can be anything. And if you are going to replace it, it's not going to come back. All right. So need to be careful whenever you use the write operation. You need to be careful. Reading from a file that doesn't exist will raise an error, so that is something you always have to remember. Although this is a pretty easy one, pretty basic one, but still you have to keep in mind. File paths must be accurate. Relative paths are based on script's location, while absolute paths specify the full location. Alright. Basically, you must always be correct with your paths, otherwise file handling will simply not work. Alright. If you are posting a letter to somewhere, you need to know where the letter goes, right? You cannot decide it after sending the letter. You need to know beforehand. You need to know the path. You need to know the path that your data will be going to, your data will be written to, your data will be read from, etc. Now some practical uses of file handling. Alright, it was a pretty lengthy one, no worries. Let's have a look at the practical uses. Logging systems, basically making server logs, making system logs, making error logs, the data storage and retrieval, because of course this is very obvious. Then we have configuration management, regarding the configurations of the systems, of the servers. You have to always read and write data, you have to update stuff as related to the configuration. So file handling is one of the decent ways to do that. And you have the report generation in case of errors, in case of displaying statistics, in case you have data about something and you want to generate reports. Then finally, integration with external tools and systems. So that is something that is like done on a large scale. If you are learning Python at the moment, you will not be integrating any external tools and system just yet, but alright, that's a good thing to remember. Well, this was it for this video. I hope you were able to understand, and thank you for watching.